Good morning. I don't speak Spanish. Wait, buenos dias. Buenas noches. Oh, I'm working out here. I hope everybody's feeling well. Welcome to another episode of Socialize with Ken and Brother Stan. How you feeling today, sir?
We're feeling good. We're feeling good. Thank you back for bringing us back to socialize so that we can socialize about what's going on with the new topic and what's going on in our society, what's going on in our government. Make sure tout le monde, et moi, make sure tout le monde bien. Moi, souhaite tout le monde bien l'après-midi là, pour écouter nous, qui porte bonne nouvelle avec honneur et respect. Merci d'être qui nous dans la caillou, dans le téléphone, pour nous capable de partager avec nous. Et pensez pas nous dans Château Lives.
Yes. And as always, nous pote bagay lan bon ti mami pou yo. But avant, before we even get deep into it, we have to do a quick little check-in, man. Like we haven't seen the people in a minute. Is there
Yes,
anything like we would like to update them on before we get into the episode? Is there anything on your end that changed or anything like that?
absolutely. Because, even when we don't see each other, even when you don't communicate with the people, we're still working, we're still grinding, we're still doing what we need to do so that we can grow. This year, I have a new project that's coming out very soon. I'm excited about because I always have these projects that I'm working on from time to time. This project now it is the book that I'm involved with publishing. The book is called Ma Vie d'Illusion. And soon you guys will hear about it and you guys will get to speak with the author and I'll get to tell you more about it. Yes, I have a new book published now.
That sound like a future episode right here. Like maybe we
Yes,
could have the author on the show and then have him tell
absolutely.
us more about what he did.
Yes, we'll definitely do that when the time comes. But I just wanted to keep the people up to date that we have things that we are working on. We have many, many other projects. Sooner than later, we will continue to share with them the kind of project that we're involved with in Haiti or if it's in our local community. Parce que dans social life, nous pas de chita par l'empile. Nous faisons travail société à tout. Vous prenez petit monde société à nous. Nous faisons travail société à bien.
Shot fired, shot fired. Bakon kes ki nou voye dlo, wan kes ki mouye, but nou voye
Oh oui,
dlo. That's it.
faut ouvrir de l'eau parce que nous avons un pile vagabond c'est eux qui a propose c'est eux même qui en charge société a moun sérieux dans pour nous qui a fait travail depuis tout petit dans la société a les ils sont pour nous camper pour nous dire société ça c'est pas nous lié c'est pas ça pour vagabond qui a pris séqué lié on va pour nous
That's so big.
protéger et préserver société nous.
Oh, se kon sa vini nan
Oh,
2024, e kon sa vini nan sou moun yo
oui,
la?
les premières choses 24 là nous venir bon.
All right, so, key subject, what subject we got for the people today? Oh, well, I'm asking you, but the subject we got for the people today, man, is what's been happening with Roe v. Wade, how it's affecting our political climate, and what's the latest, result of what happened with Roe v. Wade, which is the in vitro fertilizations in the state of Alabama. So at first, before we even get deep into it, I like to, we here to educate, right? So first of all, what is Roe v. Wade? Could you give us a little background on what it is, or people just use that statement out loud, but what does it mean?
Okay. What we read is it's a decision, a ruling decision that everybody know. It has to do with abortion. It is the Supreme Court decision that had put the standard for the entire country since 1973. So in that ruling, it simply says that kids you have at least up until 21 weeks before you have to have an abortion because biggest problem there is when does life begin. That's the ultimate question that everybody since the beginning of time is trying to answer. And in 1973, that society then says, you know what? Since we don't really know, we'll give an extension because you can think about how life began, and then there's practicality of life. Because when you take the woman into question, if life began at conception, some will say, maybe when the egg received the sperm, boom, life. But in practical term, that may not be beneficial to the woman. So that ruling, it gave a leeway where the woman can have an abortion, but is capped at, I believe it was 21 weeks. And now the conservative, they say no, at 21 weeks, this is too long. The child is already formed by then, because with the conservative perspective, the life begin at conception. So they never stop. So they continue to try to get rid of Roe v. Wade. And because of the conservative justices that Donald Trump put into the Supreme Court, those justices, they also agree now that Roe v. Wade no longer applicable for this society.
All right, but you went a little ahead. You see that this is why I gotta bring you back. You went a little ahead
But
of
they
us
died.
because we gotta dissect what you just said to the people. First thing, you mentioned that so when Roe v. Wade in 1973 came about, it removed the ability from the states to decide what what is conception, right? Where conception is basically when the sperm meets the egg and it fertilized. Once the sperm fertilized the egg, so that's what they call conception. The states were still able, before 1973, the states were deciding, hey, it's 2 weeks, or it's when it happened, or whatever the case is. And if you abort them at that stage, that's a bad thing. But when Roe v. Wade happened, that's removed from the states. Federally, they agreed on that, what you said, 12 weeks, 21 weeks?
Yeah, I believe it's 21 weeks.
So they agreed on that 21 week, which is like, okay, mothers still have the choice to abort or not abort up till 21 weeks. And it was a federally understand law. But through when this happened, since 1973, according to what you're saying, the Republican Party have been fighting against it, saying, no, 21 weeks is too long, right?
Yes, and it's not just the Republican Party. It is also with science and technology. In 1973, they couldn't make a baby grow outside of the womb. Now with technology, even a fetus who is younger than 21 weeks still have a survivable chance with the correct medical intervention. So because of that, they say, well, if we can save a baby that young, why let it go all the way to 21 weeks or so? That's a full grown child, according to them. So that's already a full life. So we should not be in the process of destroying life, no matter where it's at, what stage the life is in. We should not destroy life at all.
So now we move forward. President Trump became president. He
President,
appointed a few justices, right? I believe he
three
appointed
of them.
three justices, as you mentioned earlier, and these justices collectively got together. Not just them, but they were part of the majority who decided that Roe v. Wade in 2022, I believe this happened. They
Yeah,
decided that Roe v. Wade should not be a federal law anymore. Help clarify this a little bit.
yeah. They say that it should not be the federal should not stand. They have to bring it back to the state, where the state will decide what is acceptable or not. So that is what it's creating the situation that we're in right now, where you have a state of New York trying to protect the
Abortion, right?
mother, they say, versus another state doing something different. So now it creates a sense of chaos where you can have an abortion in one state, you may not even have an abortion in another state, even if the kids are raped. That's why you see sometimes some people in one state they will want to go to another state to try to get medical care that has to do with abortion, or not just abortion. Because when people talk about this, they only think about someone aborting a baby. A lot of times too is because of medical necessity. There was recently a case where the mom life was at danger, but the doctor did not want to intervene because they were saying that whose danger is more important? Is it the mom's life danger or the fetus's life danger? That's more important. So they put physicians and doctors at a difficult point where they're not knowing whose life to save when there's an emergency.
when it's come. And it don't only make it a tough decision. In certain states, after Roe v. Wade was removed in 2022, certain states made put laws where individuals were allowed to sue physicians for providing those type of services, right? Those type of services that Roe v. Wade was referring to.
Yeah, so basically, Roe v. Wade opened the door for a new set of laws to come in. Because if you have the Supreme Court that's saying, well, it is up to the state to decide. Guess what? The state of Alabama has decided, as we can see in the discussion for today, where we see state of Alabama take it even further to say that an embryo itself is life. An
Mm,
embryo itself are kids.
So that I'm glad you brought that up because that's the next segue to the conversation, right? Where um so MVO IV what is in vitro forgive me if I pronounce it
Inverter,
wrong, right?
I think
In
it's
vitro
inverter
fertilization,
fertilization.
right? Is the process, from my understanding, you can help me out here, of being able to take the sperm outside of the person, the egg outside of the person, fertilize the sperm with the egg, and then replace that, bring that fertilized egg back into the woman. Is that correct?
That was, I'm not a doctor, but that is the correct steps. But there's one step that's missing. Usually now with the practice, a lot of women, what they do, they will go ahead while they are young, they will take out their eggs and freeze them eggs, right? So that when that woman who now probably, let's say a woman who's in 22 years old, this is where your eggs is fresh, and you would want to conserve the best and fresh eggs that you have. So some of them will freeze those eggs, and at a later time, when they decide that they are ready to have kids, come back to these eggs to be able to use them. And this case right now about the embryo, it come about in 2020 when during the process of freezing them egg, somebody dropped them on the floor and destroyed them. So then that mom who was trying to have a baby says, "Well, you destroy my baby," and then they take them to court to say that, well, this person participate in the killing of children, the wrongful death or the wrongful killing of kids. And that's how we end up here, where the Supreme Court, where the court from Alabama decided, yes, agree with the parent to say that these eggs that were destroyed in the process of being frozen, these are kids.
Mm. So now, this affect the process of in vitro fertilization because from what I understand, when they're fertilizing these eggs, right? If the fertilization, if the egg, the fertilized egg have any abnormality, the normal practice is that they destroy that egg,
Yes.
right? So now, according to the state law, them destroying that egg that they feel will not be suitable for full term pregnancy is wrongful death, right?
Absolutely, that's where we are. And also knowing in that practice of in vitro fertilization, you have to use, or at least they use more than one egg because once you get a sample, you may have a lot of eggs, but you only need one working egg, one egg where the sperm get into, but the rest will be discarded, as you said. But now with the new ruling, a lot of clinics have to be careful because now if you drop them, it's like destroy them. This is like you participating in the wrongful killing of children if you are in the state of Alabama.
So now, as a result, because all these clinics and these laboratories and these universities are afraid of committing criminal acts, right? If you destroy one of them, that
Potential. Yeah, they now they are liable. Is because a lot of these organizations they have lawyers. Now it's like you open yourself to a lawsuit because if you fold an egg, it fall down, or sometimes can you take an egg and destroy it for the sake of research? You might not be able to do that because you are destroying a human life.
so now what is this? While all of this, I hope the audience was keeping up, right? While all of this is happening, what does that look like now? I know you're not a woman in Alabama, right? Right, but can you at least conceptualize what is happening to the everyday woman in the state of Alabama now with all these rights or and all these options removed from them?
Yeah. One thing you see is the same law that the conservative trying to promote. This will in fact go against it because remember the whole idea about kids and abortion is not to destroy life, right? They want people to create life, to preserve life. Well, if a woman is going to in vitro to try to make babies, now they're making it difficult to make babies. So before the conservative idea was that it make it difficult for you to not keep the baby. They want you to keep the baby. Now, if a woman tries to get pregnant, now there's more hurdle for that woman to go through. So even if you're trying to keep the baby, this law will still affect you because of the fact that now someone may not want to participate in the in vitro fertilization. Because now, for you to keep the baby, you may need a lawyer to know if you are killing it or if you're not killing it. So ultimately, it makes having baby, which is the conservative principle, having baby is precious. Yes. Also, it shows you that again they put the burden of kids, the burden of life on the woman, and that is why you see that's having an effect on the political realm because you can see the Democrats in the women rights movement. All of them see that. Why is it always that the women have to be responsible for their life? Because there's no way in there to give any rights for any male responsibility when it comes to children.
And mind you, it's a majority old man that is making these decisions for the young women of our country. So, how does this? I mean, I could see some reasons, some ways that affect political parties, right? How it seemed like the Democratic Party or the Biden administration is using this to connect Trump back to those three justices that he put up, which is factual, but then using that as a way to tell the voters vote for me instead. Do you
Absolutely.
understand that game plan?
Oh yeah. Not only that part of the game plan, that's primarily one of their main political campaign. That's why you see the White House press secretary Jean-Pierre was all over it. Biden himself and all other Democrats were all over it. Why? Because after Roe v. Wade, all the election goes in favor of the Democrat. If you look at the Kansas story and many other places where they had special election, whenever it comes to abortion-related laws, the Democrats are gaining support. So Biden is not going to leave that as an issue on the table. That's one more issue to pound the Republican to show that they are out of touch, to show that they are not trying to help women. And keep in mind, the majority of the electorate of the people who vote are women. So of course the Democrat is going to appease to try to get to the woman vote because it's a very successful topic for them.
And how is this affecting the Republicans? Are they standing strong and wrong, or are they feeling like, hey, maybe we should sway a little bit about this? And if
Absolutely not. Well, the Republican, because maybe now they have this, I think they call it echo chamber, where you only listen to people who agree with you. So because of that, they go in far right, and that's why we end up that far right because they're trying to see who can be the most extreme. Whoever can be the most extreme on their side is the one. Because some people now, of course, how further can you go than to say embryo? Now is it the thought, or some will say is they try to think they're representing God. So they always want to be to the right. You will see somebody say, well, we don't want to agree with the Democrat with the 6 weeks. I think it was the governor of Florida, DeSantis, who had problem because he had agreed to a 6 week where they say, okay, if the woman after 6 weeks, no more abortion. Well, they say that's too far because some women say, well, in 6 weeks they don't even know that they're pregnant, right? So they might not even want to keep their baby. But even in the Republican Party, 6 weeks was too much. So somebody want to go further than earlier than 6 weeks. Guess what? Now this Alabama ruling give them an opportunity to say yes. They believe that life began at conception, which is in the Republican Party. A lot of the Christians who proclaim to have a Christian value or God value of a value in life, they say that this is a good thing for them. So that's why you see Nikki Haley said, I see embryos as kids. And many others are going to say the same thing in the Republican Party. But when you come out in a general election, the country is not with them. But the people that are with them, they keep listening to each other.
mm. So you feel like it will be a repeat of the last time of 2022 when Roe v. Wade was returned? Do you think that's going to be a repeat in the general election, or their echo chamber is going to actually echo out through the rest of the country where everybody start agreeing with them, right? I mean, those who wanted Roe v. Wade to be removed start agreeing with them and put the Republican Party or the that the conservatives back in power.
Well, I think that's it's a negative story for them, because although you see Nikki Haley is promoting that, to say that embryos are kids, a lot of Republican or conservative women, or they sometimes categorize them as the suburban moms, because when you do it in vitro, is people who has money who does that stuff.
Yeah.
The little girl down the block in the hood does not have access to that kind of practice. So they want that because they love having the ability to freeze their eggs, because they want to be able to be a career woman and then have kids when they're ready. So even Republican women are against that. And that's not just me saying it. You can take a look at a conservative state like Kansas. You see what their voting was when that happened after Roe v. Wade. So the whole country is for that. It's only if you white minority male, minority not in color, minority in sense of number, a minority, a small group of white male who agree with that. The women don't agree with that. The Republican women, if you poll them, they don't agree with that, because this is part of planning to have kids. These people who really want to have kids, especially if you live in a suburb, you want to be a suburban mom, you want to have access to this kind of a treatment.
Yeah, and it's working backward for Americans' economy, right? Because we want more kids. Also, America's population growth is not as it's expected to be. So we want, as an economy, you want to have more workers or more taxpayers. So um, I don't know what the plan is for the Republican Party, or I don't know what the plans is with the politicians, but I believe that the general election will show, how how most people feel. I think that's really gonna be the marking point. If they really want, if women don't really want the freedom, you know what? If they want to leave it to the states, it will show. If they want to bring it back to the federal government, it will show. Now, my question is there a chance that, or is there a possibility that it could be reversed once again? Roe v. Wade being
Uh,
returned at its 1973 state.
Well, right now, that is very difficult. With the Supreme Court justices that you have is majority conservative. So they're not going to reverse their own ruling. That would be crazy. So, but one, you're not going to reverse your own ruling, because these guys swear they know that their intelligence come from God. They know their intelligence come from the prior. So they think they all that with their decision. So they're not going to second guess themselves. But one way to look for solution, the Biden administration put forward, it's like you put it in the federal law itself through the legislative processes. For example, if you speak to the Congress and you make Congress pass a law to affirm Roe v. Wade, then that way you will be able to have that same Roe v. Wade protection. But you have to have senators, you have to have your congressmen vote for that, and that's a good thing for the election, because they call these people the down ballot. The regular congressmen and senators that are running, they're gonna be in trouble, because that's one of the questions they're gonna have to try to answer. And Biden is cornering them by promoting that to say, hey, let's pass that as a law, a federal law, and we're gonna see how that take effect. But that's one way to resolve that issue, to
And
codify.
I know you don't have all the answers, but I like messing with you and just picking your brain out. What do you think is going to happen with those? How likely is Biden to succeed at his goal?
Not now, because as of right now, it is good political campaign. It is good to galvanize people to the poll, but it's not going to come into law, because who is the majority? The House majority right now is for a Republican, and even in the Senate, the Democrat is still 50-50. So then that's not a lot of wiggle room for that to take place now, but it will galvanize the people in the street. It will galvanize the people to go and vote and give their opinion about them taking care, especially the women. Again, they are the majority of people who vote. So it's going to encourage them to vote. It gives them a reason to go and vote. It's always good when you have a reason to vote, because you're not just saying, well, I'm going to pick this guy or that guy. You're passionate behind the issue. It forces you, because remember, in November, nothing guarantees you it's not going to snow. Nothing guarantees you it's not going to cold. So if you have something that you're motivated about to go and vote, that will keep you in the cold longer, and that will make you want to go and vote.
And it's a real
Because
thing that you
good
just
voting issue.
mentioned. It's a small factor, but it's a real thing where it's like if it snows out, people are not going to come out to vote. But if you got them if you got them focused and you got them involved in the cause, then they will come there in the cold. They will come there in the snow, just like fans, right? Fans will stand
Mhm.
out 3 hours waiting for their favorite artist, right? Even though they will not do it for 30 minutes for a library card, but that's a different conversation, right? So, um, how we say all of that to say that how can we capitalize this whole information for the people right now? How can we put this into like
Well, one thing we have to see without socialize, when you step back a little bit, it tells you where the country is at in terms of science. Because right now, a lot of our laws are not being based on science. There was a time where science was the thing outside of ourselves that determines what kind of way we should do. Right now, they think science is not inside of the political world, and it's not just when it comes to woman issue. You can see that in climate change as well, where even though the science says one thing, they ignore it. You'll see that in many other issues, science will say one thing and they ignore it. It used to be that science, which is the best mind available in our society. As human, we study things and we see patterns and we say, well, we will base our legal understanding or our laws based on scientific understanding or what we consider to be scientific fact. Now, as a society, especially you can see after the COVID vaccine, there's so much conspiracy theory. So that means the belief and even if you don't believe in science, but at least to take science as an important information, as an important part, as an important piece of the puzzle. Science is weakening in our society. That's what this is telling me. With my social life, I can see where we are in a society where science is no longer our primary way we go about our understanding.
Is that good or healthy for us? Like science is science, politics is politics. I'm sure some people are making that discussion. Like,
Yes.
hey, what is good for us socially may not be the best scientific thing, but what is the best scientific thing may not be good for us socially. And politics is really about society in itself. Do you think it's a good or a bad thing that we're politics is straying away from science?
Well, I think it's absolutely a bad thing for us because as a society, look at where science have gotten us. There's no advancement to this modern world without science. So science has been very important for us, and we know that science is something where, uh, yes, is not the only truth because sometimes because science changes, people think, oh well, it changed. Well, it changes based on new information. Science is regardless of how you feel we know from the beginning of time not to only depend on our senses because your senses can lie to you. I don't know about you, but my senses have lied to me many times. Sometimes you can feel something, but it's not that. You can hear something, it's not that. You can see something, it's not that. So relying on one senses is never good for the human investment. That's why we investigate. We try to say, hey, I hear it. Did you hear it? I duplicate it. Can you duplicate it? If you can duplicate it, then why not? So this kind of science, it helps us to move forward to the modern world. So it is a bad thing. It is a show where lack of education also is a bad thing because if you are not understanding science, it tells me that your education is also going down because the lesser you believe in science, the worse your education will be because now you're gonna be about thinking. I think they call them that's suspicious where you think about pou nou
Skeptical.
elèv nou Haiti yo ap fè takou pansi se on lwa kapaj di versus on this, for example, si la pli va tombe, yo ka di, oh, lwa sa fe la pli va tombe. Well, it's better to have an understanding that it's the cloud and all that detail. It's always better for us in the human investment when we are leaning towards science.
Okay. And you know what? You hear it here from us. You hear the information from both ends. You understand both perspective. Hopefully the audience was paying attention. And the idea of socialize is for you to go and make your own decision, right? And Stanley had broken down very clearly, and we see which direction is going. So now it's on you, the people that are watching, to go out there and, well, first of all, to see where you stand and then from where you stand, you could go and promote where you stand. Any last word for the beautiful people, man? I think we've given them a very holistic perspective of what's happening with Roe v. Wade and some more details, which is what we do out here. So,
Yes.
any last word for the people today?
I mean, the fight will continue. When I say fight, in terms of where does life begin? I don't know if you have an idea where it might begin, but as of right now, we're still trying to answer that fundamental question: when does life begin? Does that mean if now in vitro, if I have a group in vitro, does that make me a dad? And if that make me a dad, then does that mean if my wife have in vitro fertilized eggs frozen, I can now tell my job I need paternity leave? That's a real effect on the law because remember, these are children. I may need to care to my children to visit them in the freezer to make sure they are very cold.
It sounds
Yeah,
silly. I'm sorry to laugh. It sounds silly, but it's a real
but
thing.
there's
It's a
real
real
people problem
discussion.
now, real legal issues.
Yeah.
Yes, because
Yeah.
these are the real issues that we have to confront on an everyday basis. Because if you're going to call these kids, can I now claim them on my taxes? Because you refer to them as children. So that's why sometimes when these justices are making their ruling, they act as if they're not participating in the society. They like to claim to say that, oh, we're making a white and black decision. Well, sir, you are making a white and black decision in a society. You're not making it in a vacuum. You're not making it in a theory. This have down ballot, I mean not down ballot. It have other effect. For example, the same effect that we're talking about now. Does that make me a parent if I have in vitro eggs? And now this is where we are with that.
That's some mind twisting thing to think about, right? And it even got me to think, should I take it further? Am I carrying life? Am I, as a sperm holder, am I carrying life? Right? Does it, if it's further than conception, right, where it's not an embryo no more, is that life that I'm carrying by myself because I have the potential of it being a baby?
Well, you know how the guys. If that is the case, that will put the responsibility on you. And the guys
You
that are
know
in
what? Don't
power,
talk to
they just want to talk about. They don't want the responsibility of holding life. They don't want that. They want somebody else to do it so they can tell them what to do.
That's crazy. All right, brother Stan. Thank you for your
Yes.
time. Thank you for the audience member for stopping by and hanging out with us. Merci pour prendre information ça. Bon, pardon si m'pa bon assez créole dans notre conversation ça, but it was an American conversation in a way, and if you need a breakdown again, leave a comment. Let us know if we need to add more creole, more panyol. I'll go learn my hooked on phonics and see if I can get more panyol. But thank you
Absolutely.
for stopping by, Stanley. Tell the people, wrap it up for us, man.
Yes, thank you again for stopping by with Social Live with me and Ken. We're here to keep you informed. We're here to educate you. We're here to let you know what's going on by using our social life so we can see and understand together which way our society is going. And we're the only one that can do something about it because c'est nous qui l'avons ya. Te gen longtemps, but qu'on a nous qui sous terrain, c'est nous qui décider pour tête nous, pour pas quitter l'autre monde décider pour nous.
Ah, all right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.